Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Jabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jabihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadeta Hari Jana Vallabha Girivadeta Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadeta Hari Jana Vallabha Girivanadha Yasodanandana Brajagana Ranjana Dana Brajagana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajagana Ranjana Dana Brajagana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachadina Yamuna Tira Vanachadina Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pakavacharya Satari Satyashishi Mad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Founder Srila Prabhupada Ki Anantagota Vaishnavinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Sakoshi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Ki Shishi Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mayapur Dham Ki Navadvip Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Ganga Devi Ki Yamuna Devi Ki Bhakta Devi Ki Tulsi Devi Ki Shishi Radha Golokananda Ki Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. So we're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 25, starting at text 79. This is the Lord's conversation with the Mayavadi sannyasis led by Prakrisananda Saraswati. This pastime was actually the very first pastime discussed in the beginning of the CC in Adi Leela. It kind of emphasizes the importance, especially of that the time, place, and circumstances of this writing, that these Mayavadis were the biggest obstacle in people's devotional service to Lord Krishna. They were the dominant personalities and of that time. And so here Lord Chaitanya is coming back from Vrindavan, going back to Jagannath Puri, and he was asked to come and visit, come and have lunch by a Brahmin who had also already had invited these other sannyasis. And then the Vaishnavas wanted Lord Chaitanya to defeat them because they had a little bit of themselves, they were a little, not so much insecurity, but they felt that they just couldn't beat some of these sannyasis. Primarily, they were criticizing even the Vaishnavas of being just sentimentalists. So this whole thing they were up against. But they knew that Lord Chaitanya could pretty much set them straight and defeat their Mayavad philosophy. So this is and which he does. So we're reading that pastime right now. It's a pretty amazing pastime. So text 79. We're at chapter 25, text 79. It says, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued to say nothing of ordinary living entities. Even Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva cannot be considered on the level of Vishnu or Narayan. If one considers them as such, he is immediately considered an offender or an atheist, A person who considers demigods like Brahma and Shiva to be on an equal level with Narayan is considered to be an offender, pasandi. Offenses is one of the things we have to worry about more than anything else, is committing offenses amongst each other and Vaishnavas. 81, Prakasananda replied, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. Nonetheless, you are considering yourself his eternal servant." So Mayavadis think they're all God. They think that they're Narayan. They achieve this level of being one with the Lord. So he's saying, oh, you're a sannyasi. You are also the Supreme Lord. He's coming from that contaminated view. Why are you thinking yourself to be a servant? 82. My dear Lord, you are the Supreme Lord, and although you consider yourself the Lord's servant, you are nonetheless worshipful. You are much greater than I am. Therefore, all my spiritual achievements have been lost because I have blasphemed you. O great sage, out of many millions of material liberated people who are free from ignorance, and out of many millions of siddhas who have nearly attained perfection, there is hardly one pure devotee of Narayan. Only such a devotee is actually completely satisfied and peaceful. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 6:14, text 5. Om Ganda Tamarandasya Gananjana Shilakaya Chakshur Omlitam Nina Taismai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we can actually see that in our life today, out of billions of people on this planet. How many of them even are considered that God is a reality, that the God is real? And they're so dominated now so much by atheists and scientists, the modern Mayavadis, who lead the way. And then, of course, and among those minority, there are a lot of believe in spirituality. They don't necessarily believe there's a God, there's a person, but a lot of these yoga groups and people that I believe in some spirituality, but I don't believe in a God as a person. But then he break those people down like Christians and even Muslims that believe that God's a person, and even in India was quite a bit. Atheism is there, and then you separate demigod worship. But when you get right down to who's a Vaishnav, who accepts the Lord as a person, you're getting into a very, very minority. And then if you look at those who have read Bhagavad Gita and studied Bhagavad Gita and accept Krishna as the source, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo, the source of everything, that's an extremely rare category. And so those who are Vaishnavas in the West, in India, even though it's really a big number relative to what it was, say, 10 years ago or 20 years ago, especially in India, maybe not so much in the West, but in India it's grown substantially. It might seem like a large number, but it's extremely, extremely rare. And the opportunity to understand that, as far as Krishna is concerned, is even more rare. Because he comes once in a day of Brahma. That's 1,000 cycles of the yugas. Kali Yuga is only 1/10 of that. And then the percentage-wise, it's less than 1% that people have an opportunity to chant Hare Krishna and think about who Krishna is, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Vrindavan. It is extremely, extremely rare. This opportunity won't come back again. Of course, the opportunity is there for 10,000 years, but then it won't come back for millions of years. There'll be, people to be able to worship Narayan and other impersonality of Godhead and all the other Kali Yugas, the 999, but not Krishna. Because unless Krishna invents himself, like he did 5,000 years ago, you don't know who he is. Okay, so we're going to 84. When a person mistreats great souls, his lifespan, opulence, reputation, religion, possessions, and good fortune are all destroyed. This is a statement from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 4, Text 46, was made by Sukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Pariksit. There's 10 offenses. Gets chanting the holy name of the Lord. We chant the Shikshashtaka prayers every morning, but really more important than chanting those would be chanting those 10 offenses and constantly remind ourselves what are the offenses that one commits, that those are really what we have to avoid. The Shikshashtakas, levels of faith as one makes advancement in Krishna consciousness. But if you're committing offenses, you're not going to make that progression from Shraddha to Prema. That's what holds us back. Okay, 84. Unless human society accepts the dust of a lotus feet of a great Mahatma, devotees who have nothing to do with material possessions, mankind cannot turn its attention to the lotus feet of Krishna. Those lotus feet vanquish all the unwanted, miserable conditions of material life. Purport: this verse appears in Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, Chapter 5, Text 32. For an explanation, see Majja Lila, Chapter 22, Text 53. 86. Henceforward, I shall certainly develop devotional service unto your lotus feet. For this reason I have come to you and have fallen down at your lotus feet. Excuse me. After saying this, Prakrisananda Saraswati sat down and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and began to question the Lord as follows. Prakrisananda Saraswati said, "We can understand the faults you have pointed out in the Mayavad philosophy. All the explanations given by Sankaracharya are imaginary. My dear Lord, whatever direct meaning you have given when explaining the Brahma Sutra is certainly very wonderful to all of us. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore you have inconceivable energies. I wish to hear from you briefly about the Brahma Sutra." Purport. Prakrisananda Saraswati said that he had already understood Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's explanation of the direct import of the Brahma Sutra. Nevertheless, he was requesting the Lord to now briefly give the purport to the Brahma Sutra, the Vedanta Sutra. Text 91. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, I am an ordinary living being, and therefore my knowledge is very insignificant. However, the meaning of the Brahma Sutra is very grave because its author, Vyasadeva, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. So he sees, even Lord Chaitanya, the Supreme, exhibits humility. This is the utter humility that a pure devotee exhibits. We practice humility. That's what we do. We practice it, and we show it. Even in mannerisms. Forgive me. No, you go first. These are all practice. But on the spiritual level, humility is something we have to also achieve, and we can't achieve it if we're committing offenses. Purport: an ordinary living entity. An ordinary living being cannot actually understand the meaning of the Vedanta Sutra. One can understand the meaning if he hears it from the authority, Vyasadeva himself. For this purpose, Vasudeva gave a commentary on the Brahma Sutra in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. He had been instructed to do this by his spiritual master, Narada. Of course, Sankaracharya distorted the meaning of the Brahma Sutra because he had made a motive to serve. He wanted to establish Vedic knowledge in place of the atheistic knowledge spread by Lord Buddha. All these necessities are there according to time and circumstances. Neither Lord Buddha nor Sankaracharya is to be blamed. The time required such as explanation for the understanding of various types of atheists. The conclusion is that one cannot understand the meaning of the Vedanta Sutra without going through Srimad Bhagavatam and rendering devotional service. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore further explains the matter in the following verses. Text 92. The purport of the Vedanta Sutra is very difficult for ordinary persons to understand. But Vyasadeva, out of his causeless mercy, has personally explained the meaning. So we have Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's very easy to hear the glorification of devotees and the glorification of the Lord. These things stimulate our spiritual progression. Okay, 93. If the Vedanta Sutra is explained by Vyasadeva himself, who has written it, its original meaning can be understood by people in general. The meaning of the sound vibration Omkara is present in the Gayatri Mantra. The same is elaborately explained in the 4 slokas of Srimad Bhagavatam known as the Chakru Sloki. Whatever was spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to Lord Brahma in those 4 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam was also explained by Narada, to Narada by Lord Brahma. Whatever Lord Brahma told Narada Muni was again explained by Narada Muni to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva later considered these instructions in his mind. Srila Vyasadeva considered that whatever he had received from Narada Muni as an explanation of Omkara, he would elaborately explain in his book Srimad Bhagavatam as a commentary on the Brahma Sutra. Purport: the sound vibration Omkara is the root of Vedic knowledge. Omkara is known as the Maya Vyakya, or supreme sound. Whatever meaning is in the supreme sound Omkara is further understood in the Gayatri Mantra. Again, the same meaning is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 4 slokas known as the Chatu Sloki, which begin with the words Aham, Evasam, Ev Grahe. The Lord says, only I existed before creation. From this statement, 4 slokas have been composed, and these are known as the Chakru Sloki. So from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, text 33, 34, 35, and 36. In this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead informed Lord Brahma about the purport of the Chakru Sloki. Again, Lord Brahma explained this to Narada Muni, and Narada Muni explained it to Srila Vyasadeva. This is the parampara system, the disciplic succession, the import of Vedic knowledge. The original word pranava has been explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. The conclusion is that the Brahma Sutta is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. So we know Lord Chaitanya, they heard Srimad Bhagavatam. They discussed it regularly, Srimad Bhagavatam. And we know we have many commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada said in the very first purport that we should become familiar with all of these different commentaries by these different acharyas. Srimad Bhagavatam is so important. That is the primary literature that we study in ISKCON. It's the class every day. Well, actually, we used to be, at night, we used to be Bhagavad Gita. In the morning, Srimad Bhagavatam, and at night was Bhagavad Gita every day in ISKCON temples. But now it's just, Srimad Bhagavatam. Things have changed. But it is the most important literature for the neophyte devotee to easily understand that God exists and how powerful and all-pervasive He is. 88. Vyasadeva collected whatever Vedic conclusions were in the 4 Vedas and 108 Upanishads and placed them in aphorisms in the Vedanta Sutra. In the Vedanta Sutra, the purport of all Vedic knowledge is explained, and in Srimad Bhagavatam, the same purport has been explained in 18,000 verses. This is Sukadeva Goswami, 18,000 verses. That's, and he actually added, it became sweeter when he spoke it. Because he spoke to Maharaj Pariksit for 7 days, so he glorified the Supreme Personality of Godhead 24 hours a day, 7 days. It comprised 18,000 verses. Now, some of those chapters, it's like the story of Ajamil. Now, Sukadeva Goswami talks about at the end of that he actually heard that story from Agastya Muni. So that's a first-hand account he got from him, and then he explained that. And then in the beginning, where he discusses the Bhishma Dev lying on the bed of arrows, that he was actually there during that and heard Bhishma Dev speak to Krishna. This is all explained in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's a first-hand account of an activity that he explained to Maharaj Pariksit. Of course, we have Sutta Goswami explaining, Namasharanya, so that's been kind of added. And then you take into account all the purports that are, so you can see how it becomes sweeter and sweeter, and it grows in the sense of the commentaries. Okay. So text 100. Therefore, it is to be concluded that the Brahma Sutra is explained vividly in Srimad Bhagavatam. Also, what is explained in the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam has the same purport as what is explained in the Upanishads. Everything, animate and inanimate, that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things for himself that are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So here Lord Chaitanya is quoting Srimad Bhagavatam verses to Prakasana Saraswati. Now they had to be aware that this literature existed, these Mayavadis. They had to understand it, but they didn't accept it because they thought it was Krishna's form is Maya, that it's only temporary. That the Narayana exists, but these forms that he manifests are just temporary forms for different reasons. So they've seen it that way. So these activities and these pastimes are all just temporary things, that the Lord exhibits. That's how they dismiss it. Okay, so purport. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 1, Text 10. Communists and socialists are trying to propagate the philosophy that everything belongs to the mass of people or to the state. Such an idea is not perfect. When this idea is expanded, we can see that everything belongs to God. That will be the perfection of the communistic idea. The purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam is here very nicely explained. Every one of us must be satisfied with those things the Supreme Personality of Godhead has allotted to us. We should not encroach upon the possessions of others. This simple idea can be explained in our daily lives. Everyone should have a piece of land given by the government, and everyone should possess a few cows. Both of these should be utilized for one's daily bread. Above that, if something is manufactured in a factory, it should be considered the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead because the ingredients belong to the Supreme Lord. Actually, there is no need to manufacture such things artificially. But if it is done, one should consider the goods produced belong to the Supreme Lord. Spiritual communism recognizes that the supreme proprietorship of the Supreme Lord, as Krishna is explained in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, text 29. Bhoktaram yagna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram sudhidam sarvabhutanam gyanfamam santim richati. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate benefactor of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material existence. It is further explained in Srimad Bhagavatam that no one should claim anything as his property. Whatever property one claims to be his actual belongs to Krishna. One should be satisfied with whatever has been allotted by the Supreme Lord and should not encroach on the property of others. This will lead to peace in the whole world. So it's pretty nice purport. It's like Prabhupada thinks that everybody should own a little bit of land, agricultural society. After the Civil War, there was not Civil War, but the Revolutionary War, there was between the so-called founders of the United States, there was should it be agricultural based or manufactured based, industrial based? And this was a big thing that went on, but the industrialists won out. They say we should be an industrial society, grow as a country in manufacturing, and this would make the country much greater. But it makes the country less spiritual, even though they were really God-fearing people at that time. The opposite has actually happened. As Prabhupada suggested here, society would have been better served if they would have been more of an agricultural, if they would have won out, and everybody, small farmers. I think people are, as Kali Yuga progresses, we all become lazier as a society. It's not an easy thing to be a farmer, to grow food. It's a completely different lifestyle. Text 102. The essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. Our relationship with the Supreme Lord, our activities in the connection and the goal of life. Our activities in that connection and the goal of life is manifested in 4 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, known as Chakru Sloka. Everything is explained in those verses. If Lord Krishna says, I am the center of all relationships, knowledge of me, and the practical application of that knowledge is actual knowledge. Approaching me for devotional service is called abhideya, right? Abhideya, Sambandhana, and Prayojana. These are all, Lord Chaitanya, all Vedic literature discuss those three topics. Who am I, and what is my relationship, and what is the goal of life? That's the first thing a human being should try to understand. And then, how do you act upon that understanding? And what is the goal of that activity? So, understanding it, acting upon it, and what is the result of that action? Purport. Spiritual knowledge means fully understanding the absolute truth in three features: impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and the all-powerful Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ultimately, when one takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engages in the Lord's service, the resultant knowledge is called Vigan, special knowledge, or the practical application of spiritual knowledge. One should be engaged in the Lord's devotional service to achieve the aim of life, called prayojan. The practice of devotional service to attain the goal of life is called abhideya. So we have, if I can remember, we have acharyas for each one of these. And so we have abhideya, which is the practice, which would be, well, maybe go back. Raghunath Das Goswami is the acharya of prayojan. Rupa Goswami is the acharya for the process, abhideya. I mean, the Sambandhana. Maybe I got that backwards. No, it's abhideya. And then Sanatana Goswami is the acharya of Sambandhana. So, and then Jiva Goswami is considered the Tattva acharya. He's the acharya of the truth. Everything ultimately is summarized and validated by Jiva Goswami. So he has so many books, and which is primarily the Sandarbhas given to us by Jiva Goswami, which validates actually Srimad Bhagavatam. So he's got all these verses that he categorized in different ways. Acharyas are very good at categorizing different things. So Jiva Goswami has categorized the Srimad Bhagavatam in these different Sandarbhas, these Bhagavat Sandarbhas, these Jiva Sandarbhas, these Paramatma Sandarbha, and then the which are all broken down in these three, Sambandhana, Abhideya, and Prayojan, each one. And then you have Bhakti Sandarbha, and you have Priti Sandarbha. So Priti Sandarbha is the goal. Bhakti Sandarbha is the process. And the six Sandarbhas and the first four are the Sambandhana. So he's organized Srimad Bhagavatam in those three categories. And explains everything, the Paramatma Sandarbha, who is the Paramatma and the soul and the relationships that we have. Okay, so anybody have any questions? We can keep moving on. Yeah. I'm sorry? Srimad Bhagavatam? Okay, we can actually, we mentioned that, but there's actually a link. Yeah, there's a link. I can really go to it really fast if I go. Wow, I saw that. I'm moving right along. Yeah, that's important. I was on to do that, but I didn't. I just kept going. I'm sorry? Srimad Bhagavatam. I might have passed it. 93. Okay, here it is. I found it. We'll just go to it. Okay, so text 34. O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it to be my illusionary energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. Huge, very long purports. 35. O Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos. And at the same time, do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist with everything created. At the same time, I am outside of everything. So these are really deep comments, that he's being told to Narada, to Brahma. Okay, 36. Again, there's Prabhupada really elaborates on these things. A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, must certainly search for it up to this, in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. Did I skip one? Okay, the purport took me. Okay, we'll go back to 33. Yeah, that looks like the last one was the 34. Okay. They're very long purports. Okay, 33. Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. So this is Garbhodakshai Vishnu. He's the source of the creation. So these are pretty simple, but pretty much cover everything in those 4 verses. It's all covered. These. Okay, so I don't. Okay. Now find out where I was at. Anything else? 104. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, text 104. By rendering devotional service, one gradually rises to the platform of love of Godhead. That is the chief goal of life. On the platform of love of Godhead, one can eternally engage in the service of the Lord. So that's what we say all the time, is we just do service, perform service. We hear that. We constantly remind ourselves, do some service. The biggest service, the number one, is to chant Hare Krishna. That is, there's no service greater than chanting Hare Krishna. And therefore, we're prescribed a fixed number of rounds that one should chant. Following the rules and regulations is the beginning of the Vaidhi process. Getting the Gayatri mantra and agreeing to follow the 4 rules and regulations. That is the Vaidhi process. Chanting Hare Krishna is, Lord Chaitanya gave it away free. There's no hard and fast rules. So this is so that in order to improve that chanting, that devotional service, then we have all these other activities. Stay in the association of devotees. There's deity worship, there's a morning program, and then there's the process of compassion in which we give the holy name to other individuals. There's the book distribution, and there's going out on Harinam. This is the compassionate side of devotional service, where we engage in those activities. Those types of activities also help us with humility. But all devotional service helps with humility if it's done properly. Yes?
So when we read the Prabhupada we're coming to the end of the Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Lamrita. We read here in the temple every Thursday from 6 to 7. We've been here for a long time from the beginning. And Srila Prabhupada, we're coming to the very end of it. And Srila Prabhupada is talking about how we should read all the time.
Read all the time, yes. Yes.
And he's coming at the very end, just before he's leaving the body.
Yeah.
He's making that recommendation of read.
Right. So Ronnie is saying that at the end of the Leela Amrita, they're reading that Prabhupada's emphasizing that one should read all the time. So that's hearing, right? So Shravanam Kirtanam. So chanting, hearing and chanting. Reading is so important because then there's the, why am I doing what I'm doing? We have to reinforce. This is faith. Faith is something that's it changes. It's not something that's stagnant. And faith grows by reading. You develop your faith through what we like the Shikshashtika, from the very first verse of the Shikshashtika all the way up to the 8th verse of the Shikshashtika. You know, that's a very lofty position. You know, that when one says that Krishna can handle me roughly by his embrace, he's still going to be my Lord. You know, no matter what he does, you know, rejects me, hold me roughly. This is a very strong faith, to be able to accept a personality that could treat you any way they want, and you're not going to turn your head, you're not going to give up your love for that person or your attachment for that person. So that's strong faith that Krishna's going to protect you. But this is, that faith requires nourishment. And often, especially new people, I tell them that Srimad Bhagavatam class is so important because oftentimes people don't read. But if you don't come to class, you have the danger of it affecting your faith. And if your faith becomes damaged, then you will leave. Even in Facebook nowadays, you see more people who are devotees. There's this one, somebody sends me this latest one, this devotee was I don't remember if I knew this person, but he made it all the way up through the ISKCON, huh? Yeah, he wasn't even a guru, he was a sannyasi, but he became an atheist at one point. He became an atheist, and so he puts this out there. I went through all the corporate elevations in the society, and even in management, but I became disillusioned, and so of course it led to different types of comments. Put you out there, and of course a lot of devotees that knew him. I know a couple of, like the guy that sent me to him, and he basically, one of the different things, he basically told him, basically, I remember you, but you had never had any humility. This is one of the things I remember about you, And so, and if you have no humility, then you're prone to commit offenses, and you're not prone to hear. And so different people had reacted different. Some people enabled, you're such a nice thing. But then, people let him, basically told him how they felt, where he was. And it's like the analogy that Prabhupada used. One person made a comment that it was a jackal who wanted to eat grapes, but he couldn't reach the grapes. So he said, oh, those grapes are sour anyway. He just left. I'm not going to eat the grapes because they're sour. Huh? Sour grapes, the analogy, sour grapes. He couldn't reach them, so he said, oh, those grapes are sour anyway. And that's how and the devotee said, this is your analogy of your process. You couldn't achieve the goal, so they say, oh, it's unachievable. But it's like if you want to cook something, there's a recipe. You have to follow the recipe that's given. If you deviate the recipe in any form, the result is not going to be what's expected of that particular recipe. If it's a cake and you put salt instead of sugar, you're going to get something different. So we have a recipe for success. We just have to follow it. Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Ainam
Tandar ako ikamaniya Vishesha Shobha
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Andani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Panti Kayanti Giram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham
Page 31. Hari He Dayala Mora Jaya Radhana Jaya Radhana Bara bara e bara laho nijasa Bahujoni Brahminata Loinu Sharan Loinu Sharan Nijagune Kripa Kora Adamataran Jagata Karana Tumi Jagata Jivan Karana Tumi Jagata Jivan Toma Chada Karanahi He Radha Rama He Radha Rama Bhuvana Mangala Tumi Bhuvanir Pati Bhavya dekinu e jagata majare. Toma bina keho nahi heda se udare. Keho nahi heda se udare. Hari hedai ala mora. Jaya Radhana. Bada bada e bada laho nijasa. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Jaya Radha Goloka Nanda, Jaya Radhe Radhe, Radha Goloka Nanda, Jaya Radhe Radhe, Jaya Radha Goloka Nanda, Jaya Radhe Radhe, Goloka Nanda, Jaya Radhe Radhe. O Hari, O my merciful Lord, all glories to you, O Lord of Radha. Again and again I have pleaded with you, and now you yet again to accept me as your own. O Lord, hopelessly taking birth over and over, I have now come to you for refuge. Please show your merciful nature and deliver this wretched soul. You are the cause of the universe and its very life. Other than you, O lover of Radha, there is no shelter. You bring about auspiciousness for the world, and you are the master of all the worlds as well. O Lord, what will become of me if you forsake me? I have understood, after contemplating my predicament, that within this world there is no one who can deliver this servant but you. Srila Narottama Das Thakur ki jai. Cheto Darpana Marjana Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipadam Purnam Niswadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahudani Jasarva Shaktis Tatra Nitami Amita Smadane Nakala
Etadrishi Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjanina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Thank you for addressing the deity so nicely. Effulgent. Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Ahoit Ki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripayatavapada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajashimva Chintaya Nayanam Gadashu Daraya Varanam Gadgadurudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanamagrahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahena Me Ashlishyavapadamritam Minastumam Adarshanam Marmahatakarotuva Yatatatava Vidadatu Lampato Mat Prananatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, a kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up and my body stand on end at the recitation of your name. O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Sri Shashaska Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan today, 5 to 7 in at 5 points in Durham. So please come 5 to 7 p.m. for Harinam Sankirtan. And thank you very much, Mother Jadharani, for dressing Sri Sri Radha Golokananda so nicely in an effulgent yellow today with beautiful flowers.
The idea of reestablishing the chanting of the 10 offenses, to how to avoid the 10 offenses to the holy name is super excellent. It can be done again, no problem. At the very end of the morning program, I'm talking about the first part of the morning program, Mangalartik, just before everybody starts to chant. And then, of course, we do the Shikshastakam. We can have both things in the program, and we should. When we go to Hawaii, they have both things. They have the 10 offenses, and they also have the Shikshastakam. Hare Krishna.
And thank you also to the devotees in the kitchen who are making nice offerings for the deities. So much nice service being done, and beautiful flowers on Sri Sri Radha Golokananda, courtesy of Tota Gopinath and family and their garden. Haribo.